Hello, Twitch, and hello, Internet. I'm waiting for the music to come on because I didn't time that well. Here it is. To all those who seek adventure, justice, and big damage numbers that come out of the enemy's head, welcome to Knights of New Avalon, a Beacon Odyssey, the only Neon Lights roleplay game with a 55% boost to shiny encounters. Sorry, I made myself laugh. I tried to hold it in. Before we do anything else, let me introduce the amazing players and beacons and the creative team that I'm working with here that are all wonderful. Starting with, let's start with Egg, and then we'll go clockwise. I can't see the overlay, so someone manage that now.
Cool. Hi, I'm Emily, or Egg-chan on the internet, and today I'm playing Haze, a Cambion Gravewalker who has some imposter syndrome problems. See, that's the gist of it for me. But I'll pass it over to Chouse, going clockwise? Question mark?
Clockwise, yes, clockwise.
Cool.
Aha.
I am Chouse. I will be playing Ajax. Forget the way to pronounce it. Machina? Yeah.
Correct.
Or mechanic. Yeah, Machina. Did you say Foxy?
Correct.
Oh, correct. Okay. I heard Kermit.
No, he's a Kermit. Why are there so many?
New
Sorry,
voice
sorry.
idea. Nah.
Kermit. Please don't.
Ajax the Machina here.
Sorry, I had to.
Because
This is the energy we're bringing into this session, and I'm here for it. Somebody clip that.
Chouse, you're turning red!
Yeah, not surprised. Fuck. I don't know much else to say.
I think that's it.
All thoughts just went out the fucking window with Kermit.
The Gunslinger Machina Ajax. I think that's it.
That's pretty much it. Oh, who's next on the overlay?
Oh, I think that would be
that
me.
is
That would be
Cam.
you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Lucian. I'm playing Cam the Solitary Angler. He is our dwarf life weaver. I got no bit. So
Anti.
gonna
Yes, we
character
have
for
no
Cam,
bit
though, I feel
today.
like.
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
just pretty standard.
And last,
Well,
that would be
I
Essie.
think that.
No, that's
No,
me
that would pass
actually.
over-
Don't skip over
Takana.
me. Jeez. I mean,
Sorry,
I'll go last if
sorry.
you want me to. Kidding. Hey,
No,
folks,
go.
it's Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as Fox Philly's finest, and I am happy to reprise my role today as Kana Alva, the Aureate Cavalier, our elf, or could I say, arsenal. I has lots of swords. It's really just how that goes. And last but not very far from least, we pass it over to Essie.
Hey everybody, I'm Essie or Erin Spencer, either one is fine. My pronouns are she, her, sometimes they, and I play Maeve, the Equinox, who uses a little bit of void magic, a little bit of shadow magic, little sort of different flavors on the sun and the moon, kind of inspired by all the art I've been seeing of Adult Jinx and Catalyst from Apex Legends. And sorry for being late, everybody. My video ninja didn't work, I'm sorry.
You didn't
I
have
love
to. You
y'all.
didn't have to have
Those
that.
damned tech.
That's okay, it's my fault. It's my
They're
fault,
also
and I'll say it. The
We've
tech
been
gremlins
late
have been
for
following
much
me.
worse reasons.
They attacked.
Yeah.
I know, the tech has been crazy. Things were just shutting off last stream. It's just a nightmare.
But hey, we're here and we're ready to adventure. And hello, everybody. My name is Tate Washburn, and I will be playing literally everyone else in the many, many worlds that we will be visiting. Speaking of which, the fractal realms, the spheres of reality floating in chaos that our heroes reside in, are paradoxically fragile and immutable. Arcanic scholars have spent centuries studying the many ways to make a realm, and the many ways that can fail. And as well, they have spent many centuries trying to find a way external forces might destroy one, and yet have not. But unfortunately, by the nature of magic, there are dozens, hundreds of events every day that simply defy the laws of magic as they are known. No scholar or wizard, mage nor master has ever been able to be absolutely sure of what is or is not possible. Such were the thoughts of intern Miranda, wizard of the ship Aetherwake, as she made final adjustments to the arcane sensor array and waited for the beacons to finish clearing out a magical anomaly of their own. Last time, we met our heroes, traveling on the ship Aetherwake, who arrived in the realm of the Cobalt Sands to find a dungeon. Usually a magical anomaly that stayed outside of realms has managed to lodge itself into this one. The captain, Zane Fireplume, was most concerned as it was their home realm. Our knights managed to repel all of the aetherlings, the sort of beings that live in these dungeons, with some books recovered. And that is where we find our beacons. It's still in this wet, castle-y dungeon, sort of its own micro realm outside of the main realm. And that's where I would love to let you guys have the scene. You find yourself in a library. Most of the books burn, a few of them saved. You know that your first job was just to clear this out. But your second is to find out why this is happening, or at least rule out any logical reason why it has.
Maeve is going to search for smut books, like old-timey classic smut books in the library.
Just flipping through looking for pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say the 2 stacks of books you guys managed to save, you can look through pretty quickly, and they're all pretty, like, difficult to read. Like, none of you recognize the language. But there's no pictures in those books. But you can search around the rest of the library with all of the destroyed stacks to see if some have survived.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna say this has a disadvantage naturally, so unless you have a skill that you think would apply to neutralize it out.
There's really no skill involved here. She's just kind of like throwing stuff off the shelf and seeing what she can find.
So yeah, it'd be a d20 plus grit and then minus 1d6.
Okay. Plus, where is grit? Oh, there it is, +1. So it's just a flat d20 roll at that point because they cancel each other out.
Well,
no,
the
'cause it's
grit
minus
advantage is
1d6.
you roll a d6 and subtract that from your roll.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just
All
plus
right.
1.
Very loud.
Right.
And then roll a d6.
12. Oh yeah. Yeah, roll a d6
and
and minus
then
that.
d6.
Okay. 5.
Yeah, that's below. That's a failure. You don't find anything. Most of these books in the first place were, it seems like, pretty dry, or at least not really illustrated. And so there's not a lot of surviving pictures, and the ones that are not in any way to you seeming like they could be about smut.
Okay. Yeah, she's just like boring, boring, boring.
Boo, boo, boo. Hmm?
I imagine, as Maeve is throwing these books, that Hayes is trying to catch them and prevent them from falling on the floor and potentially being damaged. Hey! Those could be useful!
She'll probably see that and be like, oh shit, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, to be fair to Maeve, none of these are like together books. These are all the pieces. You guys have the 2 stacks that you saved in another spot. Maeve was looking through the burnt out husks.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
going through the junk, but still, like,
Okay, never mind then.
Oh.
If they're burnt, then fuck that.
Cam's gonna look up from where he's like carefully
Piece the
packaging the
pages
books that
together.
he did save and go,
Mhm.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about those books. I doubt we can gain anything useful from them anyway.
I was just looking for smut.
Tate, I'm curious if, would I be able to communicate with the souls of the enemies that we just defeated?
Ooh. I feel like you
Gain
could.
any information about that?
You do know that when you defeated these enemies, their souls basically got ejected back into the Aetherwild, and it will take a while for them to reform in here. So if you'd like to sort of take a step out into the Aetherwild and talk to them, I think that's entirely plausible.
Yeah, because then they won't be speaking whatever language I don't understand. They'll be speaking soul language, which I do understand.
Mhm.
Potentially.
Okay, you can definitely give it a shot.
Cool. I will. Can I use my Scholar of Souls background skill?
100%. So I think that to do this, you do step out of the library and find sort of the edge of this dungeon, which, to your senses, a realm has a very defined, like, end point in this sort of bubble. But for a dungeon, it is more vague, like, it's more of like a general
Like
transition.
gradient.
Yeah. But you do manage to get out to a spot where the wet sort of mountainous area of this dungeon is starting to conflict in some weird ways with the blue desert of the Cobalt Sands, and the environment looks quite odd that way. But you are in there, and you can start trying to communicate with them. So, tell me what you do. Give me a roll.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm doing this right, it would be d20 plus grit plus a d6 for my background
Yeah.
skill?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I
Let's
also know you can evoke your title if you think it's appropriate, but you can only do that like once a session or something. I'm trying to remember.
I'll pass on the
Sure.
on the titling. Math. 14.
14. I believe that is. I need to have this right in front of me so I remember.
12 or higher is always a success.
Yeah, that's a hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I imagine that Hayes will reach forward, holding their tome, and flip through the pages and summon forth one of those souls who we just recently defeated. And
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah, go sorry. Yeah.
For what reason were you destroying those tomes?
Ooh. So, you can't identify like which soul this is. They
Mhm.
all kind of become formless and shapeless.
Yeah.
What does the spirit like? How does Hayes process this? What are they feeling or seeing? How do they know where the spirit is to them?
I think there's maybe I imagine because these souls were recently defeated, there's
Mhm.
maybe some nascent energy or emotion that's like
Mhm.
remaining from that defeat.
Mhm.
Maybe even agitated by Hayes' presence because they were, there fighting.
Mhm. Yeah. This sort of vague cloud of, I'm gonna say, anger, maybe frustration.
Yeah.
At first doesn't want to answer. It seems you, and these are sort of vague impulses that are kind of words. It's hard to describe the senses that magic have on like a human brain.
Mhm.
It's like you protected dangerous ones. Why? You know they're referring to your friends. Probably the one with a bunch of energy weapons
bunch
that
of
spread around shredding people. But it just says dangerous ones.
I think Hayes will communicate back by like expressing this energy of like warmth, like the care that they have for their team.
So, it receives that sensation. We attacked not dangerous ones and dangerous ones. Dangerous ones was instinct. You also get the idea of just like purpose or like duty.
Mhm.
But the non-dangerous things felt not comfort, felt paranoia, felt other thing. It seems confused as to why it was doing this as well.
Interesting. I think that's probably the extent of what Hayes will ask. So
Yeah. I think you
he
can also tell
will-
its
Mhm.
recollection of like the thing that just happened is fading from it.
Yeah, it's already
The longer it's in the
fading.
Aether Wild, its memories start sort of dissipating.
Yeah, so I think on that note he'll do a parting ritual and send that soul on its way.
Okay. you don't mind, what does that look like when you release a soul in this way?
So, I imagine once again Hayes will flip through that book, and pulling energy from the pages will draw a sigil in the air that will imprint upon this cloud of soul,
Mm-hmm.
and then it will glow and dissipate.
Yeah, and you know that effectively you are carrying this soul with you for when you re-enter a true realm, but you've also sort of, again, neutralized it and what it might be doing. It is protected against the Aether Wilds and the sort of raw chaos, and at peace. We'll say that the role you made is also sort of applied to the rest of these souls, because there was quite a few, even beyond the ones that you fought in combat. You also fought several out of combat. They all have similar impressions of confusion as to why they decided to attack something that wasn't you guys. A certain amount of, it's definitely an outside source, something outside of them. And they do describe it as sort of the opposite of that feeling of comfort and protection that you have for your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
A cruel paranoia is probably where you would place that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hayes is
The rest of you.
mulling this
Oh,
over.
sorry, you go.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna move on unless you have something else you're doing here.
Nope.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, just something to do in the background. Maeve feels a little bad, didn't necessarily know that Hayes was going to be upset about the being careless with the book. So she feels bad. She's a little embarrassed. So what she's going to do is use her high femme hobbyist background to try. And everyone here, I'm assuming, will know what I'm talking about when I say when you go into a bookstore, you know exactly where the gaming books are. I hone in on that like a missile. So she's going to do the same and look for anything lighthearted that has anything to do with ancient hobbies or hobbies of the Cobalt Sands or gaming, and try to hone in on that using her background, high femme hobbyist. And then she's also going to go back to that big stack of destroyed books she was working on. And if there was anything, she also paints models. So, like tabletop models. So if there was anything in there that looks like it can be pieced back together that had any mention of magic, she'll try to do that as well. So she's got 2 projects that she'll be working on as everyone else is working with spirits and doing their own investigations. So a couple different things. One is just piecing some things that she thinks might be important back together. Another one is looking for like hobby books, anything on any type of gaming hobbies. She's gonna try to hone in on that Barnes and Noble section like we do.
I will say, this is not stuff about the Cobalt Sands. This is some realm that maybe collapsed a long time ago. It just got stuck next to the Cobalt Sands. So
maybe even better.
Yeah, definitely roll for that, and we'll resolve that in a second. What about the 3 of the rest of you?
I think Kana's just gonna walk over and like squat somewhere in between Ajax and Cam and kind of just look between the 2 of them. And first just kind of look over at Ajax and... For Ajax, your weaponry is impressive. It was good to see you in combat finally.
Gratitude. I have query for you.
I would hope I could answer it.
It has been observed that you move in highly inefficient manners. My query is to why.
An interesting question. I have never really thought about why I move the way that I do. It's usually just whatever feels right in the moment. Combat is a lot like dancing, I believe. Sometimes you just have to feel it.
Acknowledged. And I feel like Ajax will kind of just slowly start to reload all of their weapons. Their arms will split in half to where they can reload 2 weapons at a time, and kind of just taking their time with it, just being precise.
Seeing Ajax focused, he'll just kind of turn over and... Friend Cam, what are we looking for amongst these books?
To be honest, nothing specific. I think the request was just bring back whatever books we can, and I mean, Cam's gonna hold up like the pile of books that's now wrapped in like a paper or like some kind of bag. This seems good enough.
And yet, I sense our work here is not yet done.
Well, this is a rather unusual occurrence. It would be nice to figure out why this is happening.
I am afraid I do not have much to offer in that pursuit. The nature of magic is not something I have spent much time studying.
Tate, is there like an obvious next room, or like was this kind of the end room of the castle?
This is
Or
one of
ruin.
this is the library is its own like large structure, and you can go upstairs but find much of the same. It's really just like a really tall library. There is the rest of the castle that's like its own separate thing, and most of that is still in this sort of dungeon space before it starts falling to chaos. You guys walked through that, clearing it of these exploding, unstable dragonlings,
Mm-hmm.
but you haven't like investigated those places if you'd like to.
Gotcha. Well, there's still a few more buildings we haven't looked at very closely, but I don't really know how much more we're gonna get out of this. We're not exactly the research type, are we?
I certainly am not. Friend Hayes is rather smart, though.
Cam's gonna look over at Hayes. Not saying anything, just kind of watching for a while.
I think as Hayes has come back from discussing with the soul, communicating with the soul,
Mm-hmm.
they will turn to Ajax and ask, I spoke with the soul. They couldn't remember why they were attacking the books. What do you think?
Hypothesis. Outside influence. Source unknown. Reasoning reasoning for the beings to attack books not being known indicates that it was not their thoughts.
Indeed.
Kana will
They
tap their
attacked
arm.
us.
Kana will just tap their arm. Friend Ajax is rather smart as well.
Gratitude.
Quite the methodical duo we have.
Well,
I think that's an
we'll see
interesting
if it
point
gets us
to.
any answers.
I think it's an interesting point to look over at Maeve, who you rolled pretty well on that.
That's a 19
it's a-
total.
Yeah. So you identify a few things. One, it's like a little corner. So it's not the majority of the library. Books that are shaped in
nerdy
ways that
corner.
are right there. You identify mostly the books that are not shaped in a way that looks like they're academic. They're not like these leather-bound tomes. They are a bunch of different shapes that are clearly meant to be laid out or used in more like physical, put-together projects. Those were still some of the books that had been attacked and mostly destroyed, but in combination of those and then also sort of just seeing what pieces you can piece together, I'd say it would take a long time to do it to all of the books, and I'm going to say it's nearly impossible to identify the ones that are specifically about magic, because that would be a word, like, amongst the academic books you'd have to identify. But you still can start piecing together at least some... We'll say collectively it counts as one more book saved, or one more location saved, and I've sort of got I have my own chart back here of like how many books did you guys save. Yeah, you've managed to piece together enough that you're like some like archaeologist, academic, anthropologist type will probably be very grateful you've done a lot of that sorting for them.
So for the rest of the scene, then Maeve will be doing what Pink does in the wall after he has a breakdown, and it's like piecing together like all the books in like shapes as like an organizational system, seeing which ones are salvageable. And there's a few that are like at the top of the little pyramid she's creating on the floor. But yeah, she's just kind of doing her own thing and just piecing these together. Some of them are obviously failures, but there's, some words there just not like useful. The ones that are going to be useful, she'll stack those up at the top of the area, and we'll come back to that and figure out more of whatever those are before we go to the next scene.
Yeah. I'll still leave this open if you guys want to explore the main castle part. That'll probably take some rolls to get anything out of, but...
Yeah, I think hearing, kind of looking around, and I think if anyone's like, if there were like scenes in the anime here while the camera's kind of painted between the various members of the party, giving their hypotheses and thoughts, there's just a Kana in the corner, casting his eyes back and forth between his comrades, completely lost, because he's not very smart. And so I think he kind of picks up on Cam mentioning that there are other places to look, and just, I could scout ahead if we require use from me.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Why not? Sounds like these guys have this covered.
The image of Ajax, one of his 4 hands giving a thumbs up while the others are still reloading stuff is very good.
Without turning her head, she'll just shout, "Let me know when you need me. Just working on a little project."
Kind of will hop up with his hand and kind of like roll over onto his feet and just, well, come on then, friend Cam. I hope you can keep up.
Yeah.
Tired, dead energy. All right, I would love for you guys to roll something about searching the rest of this castle for what you might think is valuable. If you got any background skills that you think would be relevant, let me know.
For searching things, not necessarily, but for like scouting, I have my sprightly tumbler background skill.
I think that'll still be useful. Yeah, this castle's pretty weird shaped. I think you're going to be able to get to places that was never meant to be gotten to, you could say.
That's Kana's dream, to go to the impossible, to do the unthinkable.
Yeah, I'll let you roll first.
All right, here we go. Not bad roll. It's a 16 with a 17 if you add my grid in there.
Yeah. You help sort of direct and navigate this place, not really identifying the places that will have the most useful information, but because there's like passageways that have crumbled and like bridges that have fallen apart and stairwells that have fallen to pieces, you are pretty instrumental in helping Cam find like rooms and corners that he normally wouldn't. Cam, you're going to get an extra advantage at identifying places that are useful.
I think there's a moment where we're going up a staircase, and there's a part where like the staircase just stops existing for a bit, and it's way too far of a gap to jump. And I think Kana leaps and kind of wall runs for a while, and then hops up and puts his legs on like a low hanging like rebar or some ceiling, and then bends backwards and holds his hands out to Cam.
You know, I was just thinking of using this as an excuse to go fish off into the Aether Wilds, but you keep finding stuff, and Cam will reach up and grab Kana's arms.
Kana swings, and like Cam, while he's certainly not like a muscle monster or anything, Kana's surprisingly strong for being his size.
Imagine Cam is solid and Kana looks quite whippety would be the word I'd use. Like clearly built, but like tiny.
What, in the Caucasian?
Yeah, look. People describe me as that just because I'm scrawny but apparently strong.
Whippity.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, a d20
Fair
plus
valid.
accuracy plus grit.
If you have another skill you think would be helpful for this, but
No.
okay.
It's a 19 either way. So
Oh, perfect.
Cam's put all of their skill points into fishing.
yeah.
And not fishing for answers.
No.
Yeah, so you... Sorry, I had to. Yeah, you look around these various rooms throughout this castle, and you find a few locations that might be useful. One is clearly some kind of like personal study for somebody. There are books that are not damaged here, but looking at them, they're clearly shaped like a ledger. Like you can't read them, but it's like a bunch of
Yeah.
words on a side and the other, and then what looks like a bunch of recurring symbols that it's pretty obvious numbers to you or something close to that. It seems like it's a records room of some kind.
Do our crystal like communication slates? Do they have a picture function?
Yeah, it's effectively wizard internet and a smartphone. Like that's basically what you have. You can't send it to anyone from here
You
because
gotta
there's
pull out the
not
flip
infrastructure
crystal.
for that.
Yeah, honestly, because Cam is like, I'm not taking all this back with me. So Cam will
Uh-huh.
just grab out his crystal slate and just start like documenting the stuff that
Mhm.
him and Kana come across.
There's at least
Yeah,
3
there's
times where, when trying to figure out what Cam is doing, kind of just gets in the way of the picture.
Yeah.
Like Cam
What-
has
what
like
are you
a book open on the desk, and it's like looking over it, and kind of just like comes at it. What are we working on?
Yeah, sticks to yeah. There's also
yeah.
a couple of pictures that are blurry because Cam is like kind of bumps
Not
into
good.
Cam as he's trying to take the picture.
Hops on your shoulders. What have we done?
Yeah, you find at least like 2 bedrooms that are kind of put together. There's not like books in here, but you think that maybe the interns will find something useful there. And the third one that's the most interesting to you, and the one that you most clearly identify as, oh yeah, that's going to be important. You can recognize a ritual room, a room meant for long-term magical rituals that like is built so that you can set up complex series of circles and materials. You don't recognize whatever this style of magic is. It doesn't look like wizardry where it's like a bunch of clearly defined symbols and a bunch of like very precise notation. It looks more artful to you, but you don't recognize any of the shapes or patterns to it because it is an extremely foreign magic.
Mhm.
But it's clearly magic. Like, that's what this room is for. And those are the 3 places you find, and you can take pictures of that as well, because you're not getting the whole room out, and the circle is sort of made of copper and embedded into the stone.
Yeah, Cam's eyes will light up when they walk into the room and go, Kana, wait there, my granddaughter showed me this really cool thing you can do with these. If you stand in one place and he stands in the middle, he holds it up. If you click and hold the button and turn slowly, and he'll do like a full 360, let go, and he'll show Kana, you can get this really neat effect where you can get the entire view from this one point.
Kind of just says, "Whoa, incredible!"
Did Kana move around during the photo? Is there multiple Kanas in this
Oh,
roundabout?
absolutely, just all over the fucking picture.
There's at least 2 that are like stretched out because they moved with Cam a little.
There's several
There's
different
one
either
that's
like
stretched,
this,
one that's been
or like
squished.
this.
Yeah. You collect all of that evidence, and you have now explored the whole sort of castle location. I think more than once you almost fall out of a part of the castle that doesn't technically exist. Like as soon as you step out, the environment starts changing. You're like, nope, too far. Yeah.
Kind of dips over the edge a bit and just, whoa! Strange.
Especially because if you take a step back, it looks like there's a regular like hallway again. It's only when you get right to that edge, it suddenly changes to like mountain desert of various colors.
With enough practice, you start to learn. You start to be able to see the signs of where the edges of the dungeons are. It is weird. You're not wrong.
Easy. I'd love to find more of these dungeons.
I'm sure we'll come across more. In
I
our
would hope
work.
so.
It's part of what we do. Deal
Shall
with
we-
anything weird?
Shall we return back to our friends then?
Yeah, let's hope they're done with whatever book investigation they had going on.
Indeed. This was fun, but I am growing bored.
Agreed.
I hope we fight soon.
I don't know about that. It'd be nice to get back on the boat and do some fishing.
Kana just looks at Cam like that doesn't make any sense to him. The idea of fishing is just antithetical to Kana's existence. What do you mean you sit still for hours waiting for a single thing to happen?
Listen, you know how you like fighting because actually no. Why do you enjoy fighting?
The uncertainty. It's an exciting prospect. You enter combat never knowing what will happen. When an opponent will try, it'll be tested. You'll do to overcome it. It's exciting.
But see, every time you cast your rod, you don't know what's at the other end of the line. Especially in the Aether Wilds. It could be anything. Imagine a fight where you can't see your opponent. The only feedback you get is through the weapon you hold.
Anna's eyes widen a bit and just sounds like it would be incredible.
You're welcome to join me anytime.
Perhaps I shall one day, friend.
Good. Back to the
I
group.
imagine. Yeah, I imagine this conversation is as you're walking back.
Yeah.
I think you'd right back to Maeve has done a pretty admirable job of putting together at least all of the reasonably intact books that you can find. And I don't know, has Ajax or Hayes helped watching this?
Ajax probably would help, seeing that they are clearly organizing things into piles, and Ajax sees that and immediately goes, yes, internally.
Yes.
You triggered my
ADHD
autism card.
OCD brain. Yeah.
Like, are
It's
we
the,
sorting things?
It's the SpongeBob meme where it's just the rainbow autism. As we put the
Yeah.
books back together.
Ajax. Oh, okay. Ajax will probably walk up to them and go query definition.
Maeve is sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce, kind of just like as she's piecing things together. She'll just kind of slowly turn. Of?
Word. Smut.
Oh,
I was gonna have Kana do this bit.
it's pornography, but in words with pictures on paper. Sometimes pictures, sometimes just words. Sometimes it's better when there's just words.
Query. Definition.
Of? Same definition, or was there something else I said in there that you are also looking for a query on for a definition? She's trying so hard.
I don't know if it's TOS to say pornography.
Not even said.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be if you put the there's like a button for adult content, and that covers all of it. And it's just like
yeah, that's
we're
kind of our whole
18 plus
channel.
stream, we're fine.
We're
Okay.
fine. It's NLR.
Yeah, I think so long as you have the button checked.
Definition
But-
of pornography.
Oh boy.
I think that's a hilarious point for the other two to walk in while you're like sorting stuff. Really quick, Hayes, have you also been helping? I just want to know how many other books is reasonable to have been maybe put together.
I think Hayes would also be helping and is listening to
Okay.
this conversation, laughing, but also turning blue.
As everyone is like gathering over, she's a little bit oblivious, and she'll go, mating rituals, but for fun. And she's just trying to explain it in a binary way.
That's the only phrase that Kana and Cam hear about this entire conversation. That's the line that they walk in on.
Kana walks back in. A mating ritual, like the Many Moons Festival.
Oh, do you have a festival for that?
I have a very different
I'm just
understanding of
gonna
the
stop,
Many Moons Festival you
Turn
mentioned
around,
last time. Oh,
walk
boy.
back out the door, and just stand there.
Cam's like, yep, nope, I'm good.
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter too much because I haven't found any of that here. I did find some what seems to be a primer on crafting hobbies, maybe some kind of a three-dimensional game that requires shapes, maybe dice, different dice. I don't know. So I've got a couple different ones. These are in pretty good quality, and a third one here that I really don't know what it's about, but I think we might be able to save 2 or 3 of these. Just And the above game, that's
Mhm.
me going off what our GM said earlier.
Yeah, the 3D shape one does have some like seeming to you very clearly magical structures to it. Like they used magic to play that game and like suspend shapes in air. And so there's at least
Okay.
some notation on basically like you would assume baby's first this spell, or like it's very simple looking, but you're not really sure what any of the lines in these circles mean. If you're a really big nerd, if you've ever seen the language Gallifreyan from
Yes.
Doctor Who, it looks
Yeah.
a bit like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what the ritual that Cam found, and that's what this is here. It's a bunch of random circles that you're like, I have no idea what the fuck this is, but it looks magic as shit.
So making her nerd brain very happy.
Mhm.
Has
would it-
Hayes... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Would Ajax be able to at least get like some semblance of this language with Number Cruncher?
You'll have to roll for it, but you might.
And roll for
Crunch those numbers.
15 plus 3 all in all, so 18.
Yeah, I mean, Maeve already got a little bit of this from just the other pictures in this about like, oh, it's meant to suspend objects in midair, like in a 3D defined space, and it's part of this game. But you do realize that they were playing with some level of like realm magic, is what it'd be called, or dimensional magic. Like it was kind of defining its own miniature realm that had its own rules
Wow.
of physics, is how it did it.
Hi.
Interesting.
But yeah.
I'll have to. Ajax would initially try to, like recreate this, if possible. I don't know if they would be able to use the same techniques that that are described in the books. I don't think that they would have access to the knowledge of like the room that Cam and Kana visited, or any of that info.
They can share that. I will say that creating a ritual is specifically a downtime activity, so that's not something
Okay.
you'll be able to do in this space. But you
Okay.
have the inklings of it from that role of like, you know how you would do it with more like a wizard-based magic, and maybe you could possibly make a similar thing. Looking at that might give you some insight. But yeah, it's not something you could do here. It's not going to be a quick thing.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was gonna be more of like a just like a thing that can just get popped in, and then
Once you
kinda
make the
just-
ritual, you can.
Okay.
But you have to
Interesting.
create it first. This looks like it makes effectively a game board of some kind, or a game space that could be saved for later to be used.
Interesting. If Ajax would probably try to go back to that ritual room and see if they can tinker and get that room to work and operate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what I'll say is you're heading there. Any of you that have one of these wizard phones, these crystal spell things, you get like a staticky like. Are you guys done in there? Are you? We're ready with the sensor, arcanic sensor. Like, seems like the interns are asking what's going on, and they're not going to get a good signal in here.
Yeah, kind of remembering that we should probably be moving on. Maeve, can you also hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just heard like the USB connect thing, so I was like, oh.
You hear
but
a boop, boop, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. it's the sound of doom. But hearing that people are asking us to, be like, hey, what's going on in there? And seeing people start to mobilize to move on, Maeve will just get Kana's attention and be like, oh, hey, sorry for, feel bad for being so lackadaisy with the books before. I think I found
Hayes?
some that we can put, what did I say, Kana?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Hayes.
I was like, why would I care about that?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
ADHD, dyslexia strikes again. Hayes. So she'll get Hayes' attention and just be, and I kind of feel bad for being so lackadaisy with the books and stuff. So I don't think we can salvage any of these, the rest of them, but I found 3, I think, that are about maybe whatever this realm's version of magical games used to be. Another one about the use of different shapes and pocket dimensions, it seems like. And the third one that's kind of, I don't know, I haven't really gotten to that one yet. But yeah, I figured, that would... I'm not very good at this.
Mhm.
So,
Days
books.
equally awkwardly is like, shit, I made that a way bigger deal than it was supposed to be. Cam was
Well-
right. There wasn't really any use in, trying to salvage most of those books anyways. Just kind of instinct, it happens when your grandma is a librarian and yells at you whenever you fold book pages. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no, I come from a place where they regularly burn books, so you'd think I'd be a little bit more respectful of a library, but this whole situation and just being here has really just kind of thrown me for a loop, and being outrageous is just, I guess, my way of coping.
Well, that's fair. It's fun. Thanks for putting
It's
these
just-
books together.
Yeah, it's just me. I'm awkward and weird. Okay, so
So are most of us.
yeah. Yeah, but anyway, if you, I thought you might like these, so I kind of put these. This maybe if we have a spell to mend. These three are kind of just like snapped in one or two places, kind of clean. I don't know. The destructive magic sometimes leaves an opportunity to recover things. So, yeah, I thought you might enjoy these, and I'm just gonna go over here and see what everybody else is doing. Okay. Okay, bye.
I will say that those are the 3 books you could identify, but you've put together, I'm going to say, like, an equivalent of maybe 3 more stacks of books since the 3 of you all helped do this.
Wow.
Of at least pages. You don't know the pages are in the right order, but you can be reasonably sure they are the pages that go in these books. And none of these books are complete, but is the equivalent of, I now have 5 points of book that you have recovered since you all are working on that. And you did roll pretty well on that one.
Yeah, and above game, that is Maeve just being super awkward. That's just her.
But yeah, also say, Ajax, you can definitely get to that room if you just hustle, and I'm perfectly happy with the role you already did of just saying that you kind of memorized this circle in this room. If you want to take pictures of it, then you can do that as well. Make a more clean roundabout.
Yeah, Ajax would definitely take more static photos and maybe even a video of like the things, like not only on like the floor but also kind of just around, and see if there's any other documentation and stuff. And
Yeah. There's not other books or paper in here, but there are symbols on the walls that maybe are artwork because they look slightly different, but they do have a similar sort of circle in circle vibe. You take pictures of all that. As a side note, you don't have to carry a crystal phone because you do actual, like, the wizard magic that it's based on. So you can literally just pull up, like, almost like a hologram, the functions of these phones on your own if you'd like. But that's
that I feel like
kind of a
that
you thing.
would make sense.
Yeah, wizard shit. But you guys sort of finish your investigation here, and you walk back to where you entered, which again just looks like it's this pathway down a mountain, but before it really gets to it, and when you look at the right angle, you can see it leads into the arid blue sands of the Cobalt Sands.
Lore question for the GM and maybe other folks at the table who might have an idea. But the Aetherlings, are they just everywhere in wherever there's... Are they here because there was a dimensional crash? Or are they just in the Aether Sea? Like the denizens of the Aether Sea in general? And wherever there's any type of... Whenever we're on the fringes of the realms, they're just there everywhere? Or are they attracted to the crash? Or both?
Sort of both. The Aetherlings are the
Okay.
souls of people who have died in the Aether, and considering when the world used to be one regular planet that was like contiguous and it made sense, an event happened that made the realms, or made it necessary for the realms to exist. People established these, but there were a whole bunch of people who just died in that event. And realms, in theory, break down somewhat often, and if they don't have a place to escape to, or someone to maintain it while a crystal is sustaining, it's that those people also just die in the Aether Sea and their souls are just lost. but they do crave physical form, so they tend to congregate around dungeons like this that are parts of collapsed reality that are still mostly physical. When you build a realm, the crystal you use to sustain it is designed to prevent them from coming in.
Okay.
It's only
Thank
in the passageways between them or in these dungeons that they really show up. So
That just blew my mind because I didn't know that it was all part of like a singular world before, and that there was a calamity. That just made things so much more intense for me.
you can decide if Maeve knows about the calamity or not, but I feel like that might still be part of the lore of her world. Like they might recognize that at some point.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. For me as the player, it blew my mind.
Well, like, Maeve maybe isn't as familiar, but Hayes is fully familiar of like, oh yeah, the Aetherlings like to congregate where they can be physical, etc., etc.
Okay, thank you. Kind of cool.
Yeah. You guys can exit from this, and you see that the 5 various interns have set up a wide array of these different like devices with crystals and like satellites and like antenna and pointy bits and dashboards. They have set up a plethora of magical wizard shit to sort of look at this dungeon and what it's doing. Who's carrying the books?
I will carry a stack of them, perhaps.
I know.
I don't know if I
Cam
can
had
carry
some,
all
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, Cam's probably still holding on to the ones that he salvaged from the fight.
I'll take one if there's a need to spread out the weight of the books.
Actually, since there's 5 collective piles, effectively, each of you maybe is carrying a pile. Only 2 of them are clearly put together. When you do, the one intern that had talked to Maeve previously about like the nature of the realms, she is like, "You guys came back, great! And look, books!" And she runs over and sees, I think the pile Maeve has is maybe the ones about games, and is clearly like pretty fucked up. It's like, oh, seems like there were problems. They're clearly burned, so she clearly is looking at the exploded piles that used to be dragonlings and goes, "Seems it was maybe an explosive day."
Well, these are like clean breaks, so you can kind of piece these back together. There were a lot more that were damaged beyond repair, but we salvaged what we could. And yeah, that's my pile. I think we got a little overzealous with the pew pew, and kind of forgot about didn't realize they were burning the books.
They were. Oh, they went after them on purpose. That's fascinating. That changes some things. It's like, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think we were expecting that. So
Friend Hayes spoke to them and said they weren't confused about it.
They were confused. Mr. Hayes, if you could, do you have more details on that? This might change all of our instrument setup, actually. If you have any more details, that could very much help.
I don't have many more details, but it seems they may have been influenced to destroy the books. When I spoke with them, they understood why they fought us. Out of duty? Because we were a threat. But they couldn't understand why they were destroying the books. It was just a sense of fear, of paranoia, of discomfort.
Fascinating. You get that, Jimmy? One of the other interns. Got it. And he's like messing with a bunch of stuff, like he's attuning to some other thing. And they're like, "Thank you, that's really helpful. If you could put the books back on the ship. Any other information you have? I don't know if you had a chance to take photos. It looks like there was probably a bunch of other stuff in there. Any of that, we can get that together and we can start trying to analyze it for maybe if it was the magic they did in there back in the day that let it sort of do this. I think that's sort of our angle to handle."
Great. In that case, then Cam will just plonk on this intern's like, here's a pile of books. These ones are fine, not damaged at all.
Yeah.
And also here's my slate. Slap that on top. I took some photos of there was like a ritual room and some stuff.
I mean, it's probably easier if you just airdrop that to my phone and then they try and like tech you into just sharing it. But
no, you hold on to this.
Yeah, no, but
Just hand
I
it
don't
back
know
to me
your
when you're
password.
done. There's no password. What do you mean password?
You don't. have a password on your intern
No.
baffled. Jimmy is baffled. I think he's the one you've handed it to. But yeah, it's here as you're sort of setting this up. Captain Zane sort of walks off the ship, is looking around. They still seem pretty tense. Is like, well, if you're done there, then I think the next step is into town.
You will get to see your home then, Captain.
They seem a little tense. It's like, yeah, you'll get to. That's the word I'd use.
You do not seem excited.
I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, at least, home always comes with a bit of baggage. It's as they say that you hear something running towards the ship. Zane seems a little tense, and so does sort of like look towards this person who's riding what looks like a feathered like raptor, like velociraptor, come around the corner. But then they immediately relax. It's like, speaking of which, and you see a figure all in gray, like this gray cloak billowing behind them. They have a just massive sort of an iron rod in the shape of a rifle. It clearly doesn't have any mechanical components to it on their back. And the raptor sort of runs up and skids to a stop. And the figure removes their cloak. It's like, sibling, you'll have to introduce me to your beacons. And Zane says, yes, this is Abla, my twin sister. And Abla removes her cloak and looks exactly like Captain Zane, except in gray scale. A gray sort of parakeet plume, much like grayer skin. We'll have to welcome you to town properly. 100 beacons. And bows. And, unless there's a last quip or two, I think we might call that break.
Their name was Abla? A-B-A-L-A?
L-A.
Real quick,
A-B-L-A.
at the first sight of the raptor, Maeve immediately, her eyes get like wide and starry-eyed, and you can just hear her like very quietly, what is that? It's majestic. And we'll just try, well, like after everyone dismounts and is talking, she's just like staring at this raptor, and eventually we'll just like kind of excitedly like hop over and try to pet the raptor. She might get hurt and take some damage, but she is going for it.
Seems
Trying to give
mostly
scritches.
fine. Yeah, it seemed mostly fine. It's
Like, oh, you're so pretty.
domesticated, not just tamed, is the vibe you get. And yeah, I think that's a great place for us to go to break. Thank everybody for watching. We will be back in a minute after everyone gets a little bit of rest to recalibrate. See ya. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knights of New Avalon, the Beacon Odyssey game on Neon Lights Roleplay. Thank you guys for waiting for us while we took a quick break. Before we start anything else, though, we have a little announcement that Foxy was going to handle.
Women. Sorry, more accurately, Happy Women's History Month, everybody. It's an incredibly important time of year, and especially important for us here at Neon Lights Roleplay. And celebrate that, we're doing something a little bit fun and special. So for the entire month of March, Neon Lights Roleplay and our fellow community, Apochromatic Unlimited, are hosting a Battle Royale fundraiser for Indigenous Women Rising. They are an organization committed to honoring Native Indigenous people's right to equitable and culturally safe health options through accessible care, health education, resources, and advocacy. They are Indigenous-led, full-spectrum care, and they are focused on justice. We want to help them help Indigenous families pay for access to abortion care, menstrual hygiene, culture-sensitive education, and midwifery funding and support for those kind of things. So there are, of course, 2 separate links going on both our channel and APOC U's channel. At any point during any of our streams, pop into your home channel and give them a ring and hit their Tiltify up. At the end of the month, the winner gets bragging rights based on the most money raised. So make sure to pull up to your home stream, give them any money you can to Indigenous Women Rising, support a good cause, and give us a reason to brag in their faces for the rest of the month. That's all I got. Thank you for your time. Happy Women's History Month again. Back to you, Tate.
That is an incredible cause as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're real excited to be part of this. We're gonna win. Anyways.
Yeah.
When we left, all of you had just met Abla, the twin sister of Captain Zane. And I think that we're actually going to come in a little bit after that. You all are on the ship, the Aetherwake, flying pretty slow and low towards what you can see as a small town. All of the buildings seem to be sort of a darker blue than the, getting into purple, than the sand around. All of these buildings are clearly made out of sort of this sand and stone that has been molded by magic. A lot of flat roofs. Clearly doesn't rain much here. And it's not really a very large town. You think maybe a dozen and a half, 2 dozen buildings at best. You can see quite a few of these raptors. You were told they were called scythe feet, is the name of the species. They do have like the great big claw toe thing. It's apt name. Several people riding on that into town, including Abla. And the captain is sort of prepping you for the town. It's like, okay, so the only thing you need to understand is this is a very small town. Everyone knows each other's business. And please don't embarrass me.
How would we
This
do
is not a
that?
captain thing. This is a friend thing. By being either disrespectful to the people who run my town, or just, I don't know, act normal. I can't. Not important.
Understood.
What does everyone do for fun in your town, Captain?
Ever been to a small town? It's mostly drinking, going into town like a larger city to see what they do, or we quite like a good hunt, but there's just not a lot to hunt out here, so definitely have some maybe less than legal dungeon delves when I was younger.
Okay, fair enough.
We do excellent glass art.
Oh,
And you can
think-
see as you get in closer, every building does have like multicolored, almost iridescent like panels as windows. It seems like they can form glass quite easily here.
wow. This is all really pretty, to be honest.
So, what did you find? Any leads? We do need to figure out why this happened, or at least prove that it wasn't done on purpose.
There was a room. Friend Cam and I found it. Fit for a ritual?
Yeah, we passed the information off to the interns. They'll figure it out.
Mm.
That ritual was for the games, correct? That we had, I guess, pieced together, or this is as Chao's asking.
I believe you're talking about the ritual room, which seems like it's the same
Yeah.
kind of magic, but it would take some
Correct.
narrative actions, a thing we haven't done yet, to really figure that out.
Okay, so the purpose of that ritual room has still yet to be found, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
But yeah, the captain says, well, anything else? That's one thing we could look into, but
I mean, if we have time, this town seems just so peaceful. And I mean, I know we're still walking down here, but I would kind of like to see whatever your most beautiful piece of glasswork is. If you have something you want to show off.
you can. Now I need to make sure I have a name ready. Well, you could definitely ask Caden, our local glassmith. I'm sure he's going to have. He'd be more than happy to talk your ear off about it. I don't see how that will help with figuring out this dungeon problem, but by all means.
Great. Thanks. And she'll just like walk away towards the direction of like wherever they're trying to find the glass shop. And
Yeah,
you said Caden, right?
Yeah. And you guys are on the ship that it's just landing now, so you can sort of leave.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Maybe-
be first off this time and just it'd be like
Hmm.
whee on the way down. She'll do another like leg out spin move on the way.
Although, Hayes, I think the captain does stop you, and I'm under the impression you did learn something through the spirits, right?
Yes,
It was-
Captain, I'm concerned.
Okay.
They were destroying the books when we entered.
Odd. But continue.
And they had no recollection of why they were destroying those books. So I fear that your hope that it was not intentional. I'm not sure.
We sure that's not something they simply forgot because they're spirits? That could be just them.
It's possible, but the emotions they had around the books were strange. Paranoid and uncertain.
In your professional opinion, as a spirit caller, would you say probably outside forces?
It's possible.
Then we'll have to be cautious. There's a possibility it is some other agent in the Aether Wild or some magical force. But, much as it's a small town, we all know each other's secrets. We don't know everyone's secrets.
Yeah, I'm hoping the interns will turn up some answers from the books that we brought back.
Might be wise for one of you to ask around town. They won't talk to me the same way as they would you. They don't really respect my position as a knight. To them, I'm still just little Zane.
Understood.
So brace yourselves. Maybe you have already walked off the ship at this point, and the rest of everybody follows. You can see that there is 3 figures standing to sort of greet everyone as they get off the boat. One is still Abla, and then there is a sort of elderly woman and a someone who's standing behind her who seems like just like a real big guy, like big the way a fridge is big. Just
Michael
solid.
Myers built.
Yeah. As Zane walks off with you, you can see all 3 of them more looking to them, and the old woman says, my little Zane is back finally. You don't ever visit. It's clearly Grandma. You can tell if you've ever had a grandma or heard a grandma. Yeah, it's Grandma. It's like, and you've brought friends, your beacons you've told us so much about.
I will just kind of like do one of these slides and like get real cozy up to Captain Zane and like put my arm around him and be like, you didn't tell me we were meeting your grandmama. Hi, Grandma.
I don't imagine how you could have thought anything different. Hello, Grandmother. These are the beacons, the chosen ones, and now officially the last ones in the program, so we can be pretty sure that they're the people we're looking for.
Captain Zane is an incredible captain and also my best friend, right?
Captain Zane does give you like a look of like,
Oh, Captain, my captain. He's shy. He's a really good captain, though. And then we'll just like slide her arm off and just go, I hear you've got really good stained glass in town.
like
Or glass art.
Zane says, beacons, this is my grandmother, Nyla. And the large man is exactly who you're going to want to talk to about anything to do with glass. Is Caden. And Caden sort of, But,
Hello.
Grandmother Nyla seems delighted. It's like, yes, absolutely. You should all stay we're going to have a dinner. We're going to have a bit of a town event, you could say, to get that dungeon. Is that the right word? Dungeon out of here.
Perfect. We accept.
We'd be honored if you could be part of that. It's been a long time since I've gotten to see a beacon, and it would be delightful for you to all be part of the ritual with our realm crystal to push this thing out. I remember fondly as a child the one beacon that touched the crystal of the land I was in. It was, well, magical.
I imagine Hayes is kind of towards the back of the group. They will turn to Ajax and whisper, "Are we all technically beacons now? I didn't realize."
Ajax will kind of go, while not confirmed, the primary hypothesis is that you are also a beacon, correct? Your mana output and the force that you are able to impart into your spells is largely above average.
Hayes just turns away, not responding. Oh shit.
To be like, oh, they was right. My family was right.
No!
Fuck. I can't tell them that.
Technically speaking, it's never fully confirmed until you touch a realm crystal, but like...
I was supposed to flunk out! What's happening?
When your fam's like, go to art school, you're like, I'm gonna do horrible. This is a stupid idea. And you go and you fucking ace your first semester. And you're like, shit, fuck.
Ah, shit.
Something's wrong here.
Do you think that Grandma Nyla looks around, it's like, so, as all of your professional opinions, how has gone with this dungeon?
There was a fight. It was not too difficult.
That is good to hear. So, everything is solved? Do we know why this happened? It seems odd.
That, I believe we are still questioning. And he kind of looks back to his friends.
Nyla
They were
looks at all of you.
They were, to my understanding, they were prompted to destroy books in this massive library that we found, which is potentially particularly egregious. It was mostly in ruin, but I got the idea from Hayes in my haste to maybe try and piece some back together, but the fact that they were destroying books in the first place kind of took us all by surprise.
That is odd. I will say it is my primary concern to get the dungeon out of our realm, but I can understand wanting to figure out why. Well, you are welcome to stay here as long as you need, but tomorrow night is when we plan on pushing the dungeon away.
It is also understood that it is highly anonymous for dungeons to interact with standard realms. It is not outside of possibility that the force for both comes from a single origin.
Well, you will be the experts on that here, I think. Or at least in terms of experience. And does seem to be talking to all of 5 of you and Captain Zane. And Zane does not. It's like, yes, we are, and we would love if you could facilitate my beacons in any way you can to help them solve this.
I am also giving Cyfoot more scritches under the neck.
Yeah,
Be
so
like,
that's
"Oh, I
the,
can't stop you, such a good boy."
Yeah, so that's the species. If you want the name, I think the name will be...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the name, I think... I just gotta find something that sounds kind of cute. Yeah, I think it's just Abba.
Okay. Aw.
Which it does seem like is named after Abla the writer. It's like, yeah, it's Abla and Abba. It's like a diminutive of that almost.
Amazing.
That's so cute.
Right.
Yeah, and Abla does have her little, her Scythefoot, not little, there with her. Abba the Scythefoot, is has mostly sort of a red plumage. Looks like maybe this species is meant to sort of hide in the grasses you see around that are bright red. And enjoys the neck scritches greatly. It's still sort of a pet that works, so it's still like being very aware of stuff, but is a little distractible with neck scritches.
Okay.
You find the good spot, like right under its chin. You're like, yes.
Oh, I feel like we're such a good boy. I don't think I have any snacks or treats or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that. I'm sorry, I don't have any snacks, but I feel like, do you have, how many of these do you have? Is this a native species to your realm?
Yes.
Oh, they're so
Abla saying,
pretty.
yeah, we have maybe
Head
about
pats and
10
focus now.
over by the stables. We train them, and the realm does sort of generate some species on its own that we can hunt every once in a while, but we try and keep that for the scythe feet. They need it. Speaking of other native creatures, you do see a few of these. You know, like the flying dinosaur with feathers that we've seen? I can't remember the actual name of. But you see every once in a while it looks like a dinosaur
down
with wings.
so little.
Well, like feathered, like with wings. Like they look like a bird and a lizard mixed together.
Quetzalcoatlus?
Yeah, I just can't say that. It's like that. It's the size of maybe a small hawk. They have very lizardy faces, but a lot of feathers. They're various colors. They're called kippers. Achiateres, thank you. It's one of those. Except they're much smaller, like again the size of like a small hawk maybe.
So
and when you ask,
like I said.
Yeah, okay. They're called
Dinosaur
kippers
nerd.
here. They're called little kippers. Are the name of this species. It seems like a very local, goofy name. There's probably Quetzalcoatl is probably more the scientific or wizardly name for it. Yeah, those are the creatures you've seen.
The secrets from Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
that game out, so.
Yeah, I'd say the space is yours to investigate as you'd see fit. There's more people in town that you can ask about, but you have 3 sort of town experts right here to ask questions of.
Kana just looks a bit confused. If we are trying to find the source of this dungeon, how best should we do that?
I would love. There's definitely a narrative action for this. I just was looking at of gain insight.
Yeah, gain insight. What you see
and
is
this
not
is gonna be
always what
less-
you get. Sometimes situation is unclear or confusing. Take a moment to look around and give a little deeper, or dive a little deeper. So, is that what we doing?
Yeah, you can ask, but I think they've already sort of told you, like, look, we don't know, and these are the leads you have. Is try and investigate people in town, or look into sort of the magic stuff that you found already, or just assume that it's a natural occurrence that isn't going to happen again. Those are sort of your 3 options.
Yeah, I think Kana just kind of looks to his compatriots and just, I think I will just look around, see if there is something that will give us insight here. Yeah, and I think he's just going to kind of amble off, I guess. He's not necessarily headed anywhere specific, but I think he's kind of mulling things over in his head, like all the things that he's kind of taken in information-wise, and also like trying to track back through any other prior knowledge he's had, because, you know, Kana's been around for a fair little bit and has traveled a fair little distance. And so I think he's definitely seen a fair bit of things, and so I think he's just like racking his brain for like some kind of connective tissue. So I think that's just what he feels like he's lacking at this point.
Yeah, right. I'm just debating if I narrate first or if you want to roll gain insight first. I'll narrate a bit. You see through town that there's maybe... This seems like a real small town. There is maybe 100 people here at best. you assume that there's maybe some buildings that are farther towards the edge of the realm, since there's only maybe, again, like 24, 25 here. They seem friendly enough. They're sort of trading in various stalls. Again, you see this like amazing glasswork that sort of litters these buildings and is in the center. You can see up against this sort of like ridge of stone at the back of town is their realm crystal in sort of this, I guess, a pagoda of like there's like a platform with a roof and pillars around it. You can tell that there's some kind of magical protection on it, so you can't just run up and like slap it if you wanted. But it is it's what you see around town thus far, and I think more than that, I'll want some rolls about that.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna try and focus on. Yeah, I'll just go with gain insight because I think I'm trying to get some gatherings here. And do you feel like it's appropriate for me to apply my Sunborn Outsider background skill point here?
Yeah, as someone who's not part of the community and being used to being an outsider, I feel like you have a sense of what are people like when you're not one of them, maybe?
All right, let's see. Gain insight. Here we go. Rolling. That's an 11 plus a 6 for a grand total of 18 if you have my grid as well.
Yeah, 19. That's a
18.
solid hit. Ask 18? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ask 2 of the following questions about your subject of study, and there's a list there.
I got the list. Yep. Let's see with let's start with try to focus on like the actual thing we're here to learn about, which is like the origin of the fucking dungeon.
Yeah, I'll try and whatever question you ask lends it towards that.
Yeah, I think I'll start with. Okay, I'll start with what seems strange here.
Yeah. So separate of the dungeon being strange, you, again, as sort of someone who has been the outsider in various communities and your various travels, notice one figure who is acting, you think, strangely. There is a... You don't know what passes as scholars-like clothes for these people, but you recognize a nerd when you see one. And this guy has like a hunched posture, and he seems wary of you where everyone else is curious. These people don't seem like bothered by your presence at all. In fact, they're almost like, "Oh, look, that's probably one of the beacons that we heard about. Oh, interesting." There is a like scrawnier, hunched over figure in robes that seems to be looking at you like he doesn't want anything to do with you. Clearly a scholar, and it occurs to you, yeah, that's someone who maybe would know some things about this shit if he's as smart as I think he might be, just from... He's got like several books. And there's just an air of magic about him.
Interesting. Should I go my second question now, or do you want me to engage with that?
You can do the second question now.
Sure. How can I gain additional info related to this dungeon?
Well, I'll give you 2 options. There's one, you would go back to the interns who are processing this information and try and like push them to analyze it or like make guesses, because you know that a wizard will take forever analyzing everything until they're 100% sure. That they'll give you guesses if you rattle them a bit. The other thing to do would be find someone who might be an expert on especially realm magics here in town. You know for sure a small place or a large realm has to have a realm mage of some kind to maintain all of this.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think Kana's kind of just like, ambly walking around, taking in the sights, looking at things, and taking in people. And I think he does want to go engage with that weird-looking person, or like that weird-seeming person. But I'm fine with kind of like checking with other people first and then coming back to me there.
How about we get our first sort of like action and beginning of investigation from everyone else, but you can start engaging with that guy when we get back around to you.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. All right.
I'm hanging out with Grandma and Caden, and I'm just gonna ask for the tour. Do you think you could show me around? And I'd love to see some of the glass. I'm not really used to calm, serene places like this. I thought where we came from, where your grandson has been stationed in New Avalon, was unique, but seeing how breathtaking and calm this is, I'm not used to it. It's nice.
Granny Nyla's gonna take your arm and like the way you like would support a grandmother, and you pat your hand. It's like,
yeah.
Oh dearie. Oh, you probably have so many stories, but here we'll give you the tour. Come, kid, you can follow us. You'll be able to tell a lot about the glass. She's moving right past the lore dump you have given her, and it's like because she's just excited to show you the town. Also, Zane is they them, so not grandson.
Oh, okay.
Just to clear. In fact, just
grandchild.
Yeah.
She might even correct me. I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, grandchild."
Yeah. But yes. Nyla and Caden sort of walk you around town, and they're identifying buildings. There's like a general store. There's a place for like this is the guy who's really good at constructing buildings. Right next to that is Caden's sort of glass workshop. You can go around. There's like a tavern. There's someone who specializes in like wizardly communications magic, and you can see they have like this crystal sort of communications tower there that is clear. There's a great big gate that is sort of their normal path back into town. That's sort of at the edge of town, and stables, stuff like that. As you go around, it's mostly Nyla talking about like, yes, we're a small town. We haven't really grown a lot. A lot of our most of the young ones tend to go to New Avalon, which I understand. It's quite an amazing and fantastic place, but they can all be proud that our small realm is actually one of the places that helped build New Avalon the way it is. The glass blowing that we do is a large part of the construction of the glass buildings of New Avalon, and she's going on that.
Really?
Oh, yes. I mean, they at least learned of our techniques, and they would say improved, and we would say industrialized them, but yeah. And
I was going to say, New Avalon's such a big city. But that makes sense if they're doing it their own way, I guess.
Yeah. And Caden then steps in. Yeah, they're not using the sands here, otherwise we would basically be just a giant hole in the ground instead of a desert, but my great-grandfather was a glass blower that lived here, and he went to the wizard college, and they learned quite a lot from him. They really focus on the function of all of it and not really the artistry. And yet you can see that every window and every bit of glass is either shaped to be some like very flowing artistic figure, or it has like, it's not like glass paneling, like they don't have to use wire to make these shapes, but there's clearly like shapes and color in the colors of these windows, depicting either a like, there's one that's a bunch of scythe feet like running on what looks like they're wild, they don't have saddles. There's hunters, there's the sun, there's just any subject you can think of outside of that just seems generalized of a wizard casting a spell, a knight, etc., etc. Seems like every house is its own little piece of art that way.
Above game, that's amazing. In game, she'll be like, just struck by all of it. Like, wow. As she's being sort of guided around town. Oh, and I'm sorry, the captain was, your grandchild was a little vague. What is the name of your town? I'm so sorry.
Well, it's a simple name, considering we are just the town of Cobalt Sands. It's the same as the realm.
Easy enough.
Yes, we are not quite big enough to have more than one town here, so...
Understandable. I'm learning a lot about realms and the state of the world lately. It's a lot of bit overwhelming, but thank you for showing me your town. I've got all day. I think we've got all night too if we're not leaving until the morning, so have at it.
Well then, Caden, you need to show her your studio and some of the stuff. And he's like, Miss Nyla, we don't need to. No, I insist, and is gonna drag you over there. And I think that's, unless you wanted to roll towards something towards the investigation, I think that's kind of what you're doing at this moment.
No, yeah, I think she's just going to she's going to occupy the townsfolk and keep them happy. And if she comes across any kids, she'll essentially play like her own version of. I really liked the idea that they played Ganji during the Korean War, and they had that one character in Squid Games too who used to play it during the war. I was like, that was really cool. So if she comes across any kids, she'll probably that's a game that you can put in your pocket and take everywhere. And that one scene made me want to like bring that in some way. So she'll put like her own version of that. And if she sees any kids, she'll be like immediately just go and sit down, crisscross applesauce, and teach them how to play. So she'll keep all the townsfolk busy while everyone does the investigations, and she'll be off screen, kind of just wandering around. You'll see her like sightseeing and doing the tour.
Let's. I do think that there could be a narrative action here. I'm just deciding if this would be convince the townfolk that you're all friendly and good, or overcome. Like, they're not really afraid of you, but you might be overcoming like a emotional distance, maybe. I don't know which of those feels better.
Yeah, whatever you want. I mean, she's genuine above game. She is genuine about like being fascinated by the glass, and of course the Syphites. When she sees the stained the glass with this, she'll be like, Syphites. She'll say it wrong. And just kind of like light up. But yeah, she is genuine. So whatever you think is appropriate for that role.
So yeah, if you have a skill that you think applies to being nice to townsfolk.
I mean, I don't want to say she's acting because she's not. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any particular other than
that's fine.
Resistance fighter makes you keen to endear yourself with small towns. And outposts, but I don't really have like a personality. She's just genuine, and she doesn't have an ulterior motive. She's just genuinely excited. So it might make sense if they see her as genuine, but because I don't really have a skill, that they might still be suspicious of everyone else. Sorry, everybody.
They just they just roll a 1d20. Do you add grit to these? I'm trying to find the rule in that. Or is that just a combat thing?
I am not sure.
Sorry, question again, I missed it.
You add grit to narrative actions?
You add grit to any check you roll.
Cool.
Okay. 13. And I think you will all also, the rest of the party will probably start to notice that Maeve takes every opportunity she can to seemingly enjoy these really mundane things, and really has no interest in following the orders of the mission. But she does seem genuinely interested in all of these little things, like, like a kid seeing new things for the first time.
Okay.
So distracting and not working, for sure, but also genuine and with this like childlike fascination. So it's a little bit of an interesting dichotomy and a catch-22.
Yeah, I'm gonna say on a 10 through 19 for convince, they do what you want, but only if you do something for them first. And since this is pretty low level, I think that as you're being walked around town, there are like some kids who start following. And when you're sort of in the center of town and you're looking at the crystal that they have, housed in this sort of magically protected awning, one of the kids is, Miss, are you a beacon?
She will just kind of turn around and stop and kind of just sit down and plop down. I think so. That's what they tell me.
Ooh. You must have a lot of cool stories.
Most of the stories that I've been through are not really stories for sharing, but I can tell you about the library we just went to.
It's like, that sounds great. And then, the thing you're going to have to do to like really endear yourself to the town is start telling some kind of story. The kids are demanding it. And we will move on to someone else so you have a chance to think about that before you have to...
I will actually just say that that's a perfect opportunity to use all the worlds as stage and just tell this like stylized version that is entertaining for kids. And you'll see like you'll see her like doing handstands and like silly dances and breaking out their world's version of Ganji. and she's actually really good with kids, and she's going to use that to entertain the children specifically.
That is charming the townsfolk. All right. There's 3 more of you that I'm not sure what you're doing. I'd like to hear what you do before we give it to Foxy to see Kana investigate this nerd-ass nerd.
Ajax would probably circle back around to the interns and assist them in getting like the information that we have in the books, like, and actually understanding that and helping like get a translation, I guess, script to actually work and translate them, and translate the words and stuff like that.
Okay. Actually, just really quick for Lucian and Egg, just to get an idea, where are you guys going? Because we might have more than one person in that scene.
Lucian, do you have an idea?
Yeah, so I'm probably, or Cam is probably going to kind of following the instructions from Anselm. Not necessarily spy on Maeve, but stay in the general vicinity and make sure she doesn't like run off. And also just kind of like slack off a little bit, but also observe the town casually. That's like the general idea of it.
All right. And Hayes, are you going to go in town or to the interns? I think are sort of the 2 places we've established. Or a third thing if you can convince us.
I think Hayes would probably tag along with Ajax and just see what the interns have turned up.
Cool. I'm just debating. Cam, just because we're already in town, if you want to probably also roll to gain insight as well to see if you sort of notice what Kana is doing and the same things Kana has noticed.
Sure. I don't think I have a skill for this, so I'll just do D20 plus grit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a 4.
I'm gonna do something true that you wish wasn't. You've been to a lot of realms. You've probably seen a lot of realm crystal setups. A thing that is definitely true is really kind of twofold. Is one, that crystal is not remotely as secure as it really ought to be. They're pretty trusting. Like, yeah, there's magical defenses, so you don't just walk up to it, but you don't think it would take much to break. But then also, it clearly hasn't been messed with yet. You say yet because you're like, someone's going to eventually. Some dumb kid at some point is gonna. But yeah, it's like, I think you can rule out anyone having messed with the crystal in particular at this point, if that's not the cause.
Okay. Interesting.
But those are the 2 things you get. You don't notice anything that Kana is doing, and you're mostly just listening in on Maeve's stories. Yeah, let's have Ajax and Hayes. You guys go back to. The interns aren't on the ship. They're actually still by like the opening, but it doesn't take long for you guys to get there. And they have now set up like a sort of like a tent awning to get them like protect themselves from the sun, because they're a bunch of researchers. They don't spend this much time outside most of the time. And they seem to have started erecting in almost like 3D space a sort of hologram would be the sci-fi term, but like an illusionary projection of at least all of the characters that they found from these books, as well as the 2 different ritual circles that they've found. There's some archive you can see that they're putting away of like images of art and stuff, but that's not really their focus. They're working on this language.
Ajax will probably ask them how far along are they, like percentage-wise, on completing the translation, because they've gotten like they'll ask for like how far they are. That way they know like, okay, here's what y'all are missing that I've been able to put together. Boom.
Okay. Is there a narrative action that fits into this, I think?
I'm assuming it's gonna be either gather information, or recall lore, possibly.
Let's say gather information.
I've got
And
it pulled up.
before you do that, Hayes, were you going to? Is there a way for someone to help with one of these, or is it just Hayes would roll a second separate check to do the same thing?
I'd say you can house rule that out however you wanna. Honestly, if you wanna have like Hayes roll and that gives Ajax advantage or some other thing, or have them both roll, I think either's fine. I'd say that's your call.
Well, it's also up to Egg if that's what Hayes is also doing, is just trying to logic some of this out.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a nerd and they want to know what is happening.
Sure.
I want the answers to this world.
Let's do
Me
this.
the lore.
Yeah.
Since it's separate questions, I think you guys can just sort of roll separately, and that'll just give you more chance to.
Okay.
You have a skill you want to add, you can add a skill.
Is this D20 plus secret?
Yep.
Alrighty.
Get used to that. It's pretty common in this system.
I'm just
That
making
is
sure.
a
'Cause
20.
Simplicity is good.
my brain does not work.
I think your brain
Same
works great.
Z's.
I think both of your brains work great.
Thank
Got a
you.
nice 11.
All right, so Hayes got 11, and I heard a 20.
Mhm.
All right, so, that's collectively 3 questions about the topic at hand that I will answer truthfully. Yeah, there's not like a list, just do that. Yeah, you see
would
the
like to ask
intern sort
first
of
pass?
trying to figure out the language, trying to figure out the ritual circle. They have the notes that you guys sort of picked up from the game, from like the diagrams of it seems like it's suspending in some. So they have all of those things sort of laid out, trying to figure out what this is. So what questions do you want answered? I can also offer a question you probably would want to ask if you can't think of something, but.
So let's see. It's a suspension. Micro. Let's see. Would this technology be able to be scaled up and empowered to move entire realms? Is there like a power limit to this types of magic?
As far as you can tell, this could really be scaled up. You don't know about move realms, but it's definitely highly related to making a realm, like the kind of realm magic that's in a realm crystal, or at least their version of it. It's hard to fully translate, but at least the game circle, for sure. You'd make that more complicated and bigger, and it's really just a matter of mana. In theory, even the small one could if you had a metric ton of mana to throw at it, but you understand that it's better to scale it up so it's more efficient.
And better like finely tune the inefficiencies out.
Yeah. And also just things get bigger, you have to work at it differently, the same way with physics. If you shrunk an elephant down to the size of a mouse, it would immediately
Explode.
overheat and die. Yeah.
I'm curious. Have the interns been able to find anything about like a political turmoil or some sort of historical conflict that would have like created this turmoil in the Aether?
Yeah, like the reason it fell apart, or create
Yeah.
turmoil in the Aetherlings.
Either.
Okay, yeah.
Just any significant like civil war or like.
Well, I'll say if you're looking for the reason the realm fell apart, or the reason that the Aetherlings had this like confusion as to what they were doing. I think those are 2 separate things you can ask if they figured out through texts.
Oh, okay.
So you pick one of those.
I think I'm more interested in the Aetherlings.
Yeah. they've started identifying words that are at least repeating, and I think that the interns are gonna kind of miss this until you point it out, because you also look at some of the art, and you see that there are like characters in it that seem to have some words, or like, you know, that they were labeled a certain thing, and you do identify a few things of like duty, protection, guardians. You find something that looks like, before it was not identifiable from the burnt pages until you get some of these. And then the key one that the interns do figure out, because the thing that wizards always try and figure out is like a word for magic. They have figured that out, and you see, oh, this is a manual on like the knights that we fought, the like empty armor knights. And you're pretty sure that they were designed as like guardians of this place. But that you can be reasonably sure that, one, the Aetherlings just made a copy of what those were supposed to be, because that's how they work. You sort of get that for free.
Mhm.
But you can also be pretty sure that it doesn't seem like that you can find that there would be any reason for the knights to be destroying books. You go through, you see also the like the ones that were dancing on air that destroyed quite a few. They're sort of in the same category. You couldn't recreate them from this, but you're like, oh yeah, these are all constructs meant to protect this place, and you can't imagine a reason, and there's nothing in here you can find from just like the super rough translations you're working on. The interns have had to dig into languages that are like pre the shattering of realms, so this is old, but they have some idea, and there's no reason you can think of.
Yeah, like it doesn't look
Fine.
like there was like a self-destruct contingency button or something.
Yeah. Well, like just from the shape of the library and like some of the other texts you find, they seem to be very respectful of, we are collecting this information for others. Like this is a long-term library, not like a personal collection.
Okay,
So why would the guardians of that place destroy these books?
great.
Ajax has one more question. Which I do think there's one, if you permit me, that would be the question Ajax should ask is, would this kind of magic, or at least the big ritual one, be able to break through a realm skin? Like, that's the part that's weird here. Not that it moves around, but that it's made it into another realm.
Yeah, that'd probably be a pretty good question. I had another like tiny like mini
If you got
question,
something.
but that would have been more
Yeah.
of like a personal Ajax thing of just like,
Mhm.
okay, this thing can be scaled up. Can we
Yeah.
scale it down and like maneuver like lighter objects and just being like, this box, go over there.
I think you can
But-
save that for when you try and make your own version of the ritual.
Yeah.
For later, in terms of
That's
gathering
fine.
information, in terms of this realm, you look at the large circle, and you realize through this analysis, it probably doesn't have much to do with breaking through realms. You think that maybe you could do it with this magic, but at least the big circle you found, it is pretty old. It's not like something someone did recently, and it's not really designed for that. It seems to be maybe unrelated to realm magic at all. They were doing something else there. But it's the context of that sort of makes you sure about it.
Yeah, because that would imply that whatever caused it to break through into the Cobalt Sands is not from within that realm or the dungeon
Yeah.
that has collided.
And, you know, you can be pretty sure Kana found all the little corners, so at least there was nothing in this dungeon that would be able to do that. You understand the magic of this would be pretty powerful, so a ritual is the most likely thing, but you didn't see anything in here. Cool. You have a good time with the intern sort of figuring this out, even despite maybe not getting all the answers you'd want, as they start making connections. And there are like records of political turmoil that you're trying to untool. That's probably something that happened, but it doesn't seem like... It seems like it was from before the shattering, so this is an old place. It wasn't political turmoil that destroyed this place. It was not having a wizard strong enough to keep it as its own realm when that happened. Yeah. Swinging back to Foxy, this is what you've seen all of your teammates do, and you've noticed some guy who doesn't seem to like any of you.
Yeah, I think Kana
Aw.
just walks over and like quirks an eyebrow and just. Are you all? Are you well, friend? You seem troubled.
I think you almost have to jog to catch up because he sees you coming and starts trying to like walk around the corner of a building, but Kana's very fast, so just sort of like pops up. You seem troubled. It's like, I'm fine. None of your business. He's gonna try and brush you off.
I am sorry if I offended. I simply wish to make conversation. This place is new and interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting, but I'm very busy with the realm thing, the collapsing and all that you're investigating. I'm the one who made sure this didn't pop at the first moment.
He hops over then. Then you are suddenly very important to me.
Shit. He actually swears in a language you don't recognize, but you understand it's a swear word. Under his breath. Yes. He seems like he's going to go around the corner, and I think the camera sees this. I don't know if Kana does. That Granny Nyla is keeping an eye on all of the beacons here and sees someone try and go away from you, and like we see her like guilt trip face this man into not leaving, and just. Yes. What can I do to help you, oh honorable beacon?
I am Kana Alva of Lana. You can simply call me that.
Well, Kana, I am, and I had a name ready, and I moved away. I am Fennec the Wise. What can I help you with?
One cannot earn a title like that without being very intelligent. I applaud you for it.
He is... He's still sort of at a distance, like, well, thank you. So how can I help you then?
There is a dungeon, a realm smashed into this one. We are here to clear it. Though, if I understand it correctly, we are first to understand it, or why it occurred. Sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going, sorry.
I am not one for such considerations. Magic is a large topic beyond me in most cases. You, however, might just be someone helpful in this case.
I think there's a narrative action here that is interesting.
Yeah, talk to me.
I think convince, and
I
hear
thought
me
so.
out. You can, like, it's either convince or overcome still, because this man clearly, like, I don't know if Kana does, but the camera recognizes, clearly wants to correct what Kana is saying. Like, there's a bit of this, like, actually nerd rage of, like, you are getting so many things wrong. And this is, like, such a simple
Good.
So he
that's the
might
plan.
bust out and explain a bunch of stuff. And I think that's probably convinced, but I could be convinced if you think overcome is a better,
I think I'm okay with convincing this in this logic. That seems to make a bit
Yeah,
more
go for it.
sense. All right, where did my D20 run off to? I found it. It's okay. Don't think I have any traits that are gonna help me out here. So this is gonna be a standard roll.
Annoy nerd. Yeah, I don't know if that would be the
No,
case.
I'm gonna piss off some nerds. I've got a 13.
You're right. I think they won't do it unless you give up leverage over them. And the way that this is expressed is you like say these things like, "I do not have the time nor the patience," and then sees, the matriarch of town eyeing down. Is like, "Look, if you follow me around the corner so that I am stopped being stared at, I will explain to you what is going on. I just don't have the energy to deal with Granny."
Okay.
Yeah, he'll like Great, and he'll sort of gesture, and you see one of the buildings that's more outside of town. It's not the like magical communication building, but it does look like it has more wizardly symbols on it. Like I think you can recognize that much without that much experience. It's clearly not the more native magic around. And he sort of gestures. That's like, here, my workshop. It'll be easier for me to demonstrate.
I get the feeling I would want someone more equipped to come with me, but okay.
If they were more equipped, I wouldn't have to explain this. And he opens the door. You see that there is a sort of center table to this small room, and there is like a back room that is probably his office. But this small table has a crystal embedded in it, and as he waves, it sort of projects what you would recognize as a realm map. It's a bunch of these sort of bubbles that have different symbols in them representing the different major realms. And as he rotates a hand, it gets more detailed, and you see a bunch of like smaller and smaller bubbles sort of in a pattern coming out from each of these three main ones. One of the major bubbles is clearly actually bisected into 5, but is still represented as a single sphere. And you're well traveled enough, you won't have to roll. That's the Magnolia Realms. That's technically 5 realms into like one big bubble. But as he like zooms in, and those bubbles sort of disappear to get to more of these clusters. And you see near like the edge of a arm of clusters in like a Fibonacci sequence is one that instead of a symbol is just a picture of the Cobalt Sands. This bubble is oddly shaped in that there seems to be like an indent, and then instead of a sphere, it's like a floating symbol there. It says, "This is my realm map." Are you familiar with that?
Enough.
Good. We have a place to start. Now, every one of these bubbles is a realm. There is a defense to the sort of thing that's happening. They each push away from each other while also being cohesive enough that they don't float away. Now, I'm not sure why, but something effectively pierced that bubble into this realm, and the whole thing would have collapsed if I hadn't been on top of it and built in all the redundancies I did, so that it at least stays mostly together.
Okay. So then, I assume whatever hole was left from the puncture is what allowed this dungeon to slip in.
It's the question. Did the dungeon make the puncture, or did something else?
Friend Hayes said the spirits were speaking in confusion, as if there's something pushing. Friend Ajax believed it was an outside force.
Oh, I'm sure that's just... All these dungeons are conflicting and weird and chaotic. Who knows what the Aether see?
I don't know why, but this seems peculiar. Like there is something worth digging about this.
I would love for you to roll gain insight. I don't know if I call for that or you, but I think that
You can call it.
Kana would know when a motherfucker is lying. So I feel like he would be rolling to see if this man is being honest about this.
Kana's incredibly gullible, but absolutely. Insight gaining roll. That's an 8 plus a 2 for a 10.
You're looking at this guy, and I do think something is keyed off that he seems nervous, and you're just not sure, is this because his realm might collapse or something else? He's like, I'm sure it's just some other thing in the Aether. It's happening.
Nervous.
I'm just here to keep
Why?
it together.
Kana's also very brutally honest.
Yeah. Well, he'll answer that, but I would also like to know your 2 questions since you got a hit at 10 or
Sure.
11. Did you get?
Let's start with I almost want to say what seems strange here. Like I feel like if there's something that he's not
but now
being,
it's about him.
yeah, being locked in now. If that's something he's not locking in about, I want to lock in on it.
So like his answer to the actual question of you seem nervous, like, well, the realm could technically collapse at any minute if you don't let me get back to my job. But you you do notice something. Like, Kana doesn't understand magical theory, really. So he doesn't understand any of the various diagrams, and there's like it's like a glass board that he's clearly like written into. That's a bunch of like calculations. But for someone who should be keeping this all together, the place doesn't look, I don't know, freshly disturbed. It seems like it's pretty neat, which is fine, but just this place doesn't look like a place of panic. It looks well prepared. And this happened maybe 5-6 hours ago. It's probably more like 10. Like, it's not been a whole day since this happened. You can tell that maybe this man is acting panicked, and maybe he is, but he wasn't panicked here, if that's the case.
Interesting.
Second question? Or you get, 2.
Yeah. So then my second question is, let's see. What recently happened or is about to happen?
You think this is very much a like gut feeling for Kana. Kana has fought. Yeah, Kana has fought a lot of people, and he is familiar with a very specific, I guess, like game state might be the word, or like mental state of an opponent. This is someone who had a plan, the plan worked, and is now experiencing complications to the plan. He is flustered, and not because of something that has happened, but something that is currently happening. He seemed like he was very confident and successful at whatever he was doing until you guys showed up.
Did you make the puncture?
Why would I do that? I live here.
You don't have the gait of someone who appears to be... Sorry. You do not have the gait of someone who appears to be panicking. There is distress in your voice, certainly, but you walk on your flat toes. If you were preparing to move or panic, you'd walk more on the balls of your feet. You don't gaze around randomly as if looking for opponents. Your hands don't shake like looking for a weapon. You are not panicking. You are considering, reevaluating.
Making me regret explaining things to you. I'm not a fighter. I don't know what foot reading you're talking about. I'm just trying to keep this place together. I'm gonna say if you want to push this man and roll for more, but that's as much as you're gonna get out of that roll on him.
I think that's okay for now.
Right. So please leave me to my job. You see him sort of fiddle around with the projector, go to the glass thing and take notes, but he's gonna sort of seemingly get back to work.
I think Kana just stares at his back for a while, not really sure what he's done or if he's like somehow upset this person or something, and just, okay, thank you for your time.
Yeah. I think it is, all of these things sort of take the rest of the day into the afternoon. And you are sort of collectively, individually given 2 options. There is a inn in town if you'd like to sleep there, or you do have rooms on the Aether Wake that you can stay in. But before that, where do you guys want to meet up, exchange information, get food, that sort of thing? Whatever scene you'd like here, sort of the end of this day, is up to you.
Food sounds great.
Food or back at the ship?
Yeah. Then let's say you, there is one tavern, sort of. It's just called the Tavern. There's not multiple businesses here. They don't really feel
Do
the need
they
to
have
name things.
meat?
Oh, yes.
We're going to the tavern. Friends.
I forgot that Kana is raised vegan.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Wait,
You get into this tavern, and it's like the whole bottom floor is open. You were almost expecting like a kitchen, and there's a back room that they bring food out of, but what they have at the center of this place is like a large, like raised platform with sheer glass.
It's a
And then,
hibachi
obviously,
spot!
A little bit, yeah. And then like a hood that is clearly meant to get smoke because anything that touches this glass surface, that point of glass heats up and it starts cooking it. You see them put down what look like the largest turkey legs you have ever seen in your life. They have various like fried veggies and noodles or rice. It's really spiced, but not necessarily spicy. Like there is both like pepper, but also like cinnamon and cloves in these scents of both fried veggies, meats, things like that. Yeah.
If we want to cut the scene to like us at a table eating food, then it's just like camera pan across the table to like everyone with modest portions of food, and then where there should be a Kana, just a plate of food taller than him. It's
There's the Goku reference.
exactly. Alternatively, if we want to still be at the door and looking into this place, then like Hayes is like looking inside and suddenly feels like a small trickle of water at their feet. It's just a trail of drool leaving Kana's mouth from the going to the ground. Just.
Hayes will smack their Kana's jaw to close it.
I am sorry. I did not have meat a lot when I was young.
I see that.
I stand in the door. A larger man, not in the same way Caden is both tall, but let's say someone who clearly likes to cook and likes to eat what they cook, is standing in this glass, and he's been like rotating around, flipping stuff, and he's, the vegans, come in. I have a table for you. He has the same feather hair. His seems to be quite yellow, and instead of like the breast, it's more of like hair, like long hair almost, that goes down his back, but it's this like plume of feathers still.
Kana looks at the rest like a dog who just got called by a stranger and is wondering if he can go walk over.
It's up to you guys. Are you going in?
Yeah, I'm already at the table. Maeve
Yeah.
is already like sitting down, like crisscross applesauce on the chair, tapping on the table.
Yeah, I think these are pretty low table, like not so much that it's just a cushion for a chair, but it's very much like a small block, and there's a table, and it's pretty close so that he just seems like he can just take food off of the grill onto a table. There's like one or two like people who are serving, and it looks like most people are not here. It's like, yeah, I didn't expect to have a lot of people today, just because we do have sort of an impromptu festival tomorrow for getting rid of that bother with the dungeon. Is that what you guys call it? Dungeon, sure. But I also figured that you would want something more than the regular ship food. No offense to Zane, but they were never exactly a gourmet chef. And I figure it's the least I can do to get you guys, and then looks at how eager Kana is. A meal each, and after that, if you would like more, it's perfectly fine if you'd like to pay me more. And he's gonna...
We're on New Avalon's budget, somebody will pay him.
Yeah, you do have a stipend as a
I
knight,
like
and
the
it
way
is
you think,
sizable.
Kana.
You do also technically...
One of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say that technically, if you want to try, you can like put it on a tab for the knights, but that's not like a... You have funds that you are given that are yours on you, and you can try and just say, yeah, leave it on a tab for...
We're just gonna bring the bill back to the captain. The wizards have got this one, right? Thanks.
Yeah, them damn wizards. You know, I do like that. If you say that, it'd be like, yeah, the wizards can handle it. So long as you're gonna like back me up when I say that, right? Like you can like write something down so it's official.
Kana will worry about pricing later and worry about eating now.
Maeve will tiptoe across all the chairs and go at the other side of the table and sit next to Kana and just plop down and be like, okay, no, seriously, we should get one of everything.
2 of everything.
I like the way you think. I like where your head's at.
This guy seems happy to cook a whole bunch. Yeah, there's apparently like another creature you haven't seen that's one of the animals that sort of manifests to hunt. You've seen art of, imagine like a stegosaurus that has a feather plume instead of a spike plume.
Oh, that's cool.
Some of the art shows that it has like spikes hidden in that plume that it can sort of use, but It is still more large and chicken-like, and that's apparently what these large drumsticks are. Like, you can get a massive one if you don't want to cut it up. He goes to cut one up, and I imagine Kana's like, nah, that whole thing. Yeah, he's like, all right. So, I appreciate a big eater, and he get you guys plates.
I haven't been to a restaurant like this in so long.
Neither have I.
Most of the businesses where I was from were shut down or bought out by megacorps, or it's just not the same. Local cooking was few and far between. This is incredible. This is such a throwback.
The big guy, whose name is Abdu. He's Abdu the Generous. He is like, I don't know what a mega corp is, but doesn't sound like something I'd enjoy. He gets you like a stir fry sort of deal, like veggies and noodles that has bits of meat in it as he puts it down.
It's just someone who controls all the money, all the power, and overly processes life, everything, food, day-to-day items, transportation, tools.
He squints and sort of
worth,
nods.
really.
Goes, it sounds like wizard shit.
Yeah, actually, cryptic necromancer shit, to be honest.
I also don't know what necromancers are, but that sounds like worse wizards.
Also not
Powerful
wrong.
people with all the money. Powerful people with lots of money who twist magic to make themselves live forever so they can instill more megacorps and ruin
that
more
is worse than
lives,
wizards.
drain more
At least they die.
resources, poison more air, poison more waterways, groundwater. It's pretty bad where I come from. Everything is kind of just toxic unless you're wealthy enough to afford the stuff that isn't. Pretty horrible, so I'm not really used to this type of situation. Which is great. This is amazing. This brings me back to being a kid. I'm so excited to eat everything on the menu.
He puts an extra portion of food on your plate. It's like, I'm not going to charge you for that one. That sounds terrible. You guys are beacons. Maybe you can do something about that. And you just can keep cooking. He's going to let you guys have your own conversation internally.
Oh, maybe. I thought this was on the captain's tab.
Well, he said first meal is free. He just gave you a little more, and then he's going to charge you for the rest.
Thank you. That's really generous of you.
It's in his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's true. It's why they call me that. Thank you, Mr. Generous.
Anyways.
Mr. Generous.
Oh, man. Just makes me think of Mr. Worldwide for some reason. He's Mr. the Generous. Right. Yeah, I would like this space for you to sort of collectively, in character share information and then make some plans, because tomorrow is going to be this big festival, this big ritual that will push the dungeon away.
Kana pokes his head up from under a giant leg of roasted meat. Friend Cam, I met someone like you.
Like me? I didn't see any fishing spots nearby. What do you mean?
I mean, smart and old and grumpy.
Oh. Yeah, there's gonna be at least one or two of those kinds of people everywhere you go.
He knew much about our problem. Claimed to have been the one who averted this realm collapsing when something happened to it.
What?
He was not exactly forthcoming with details, but as he explained it, something punctured this realm. And while he is not sure what it is, he put in some kind of failure safety? Something to prevent collapse.
How does he know that?
Just to sort of offer, as Abdu is kind of listening, he's like, it's probably Fennec. He's our resident realm magic expert. He does tend to be quite rude. He doesn't like to be bothered. He says his work is too important.
That sounds like him.
I just think that he feels a little self-important and doesn't like people.
You see Cam visibly relax and go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Very much liked him.
He did seem to be particularly concerned about our presence here.
Well, we are beacons. Everybody's gonna have their own reaction. It's not the worst I've seen.
Indeed. Neither have I. Nor I. I do think that whatever purpose we are meant to serve here, he may have some kind of insight. I attempted to ask him for it, but he did not appear to wish to speak with me very long.
Well, maybe he'll have something to say tomorrow.
Perhaps.
He'll definitely be involved in the ritual that we're doing tomorrow as part of the festival to push that out. He would be the one who knows what he's doing until you guys showed up.
Friend Ajax, did you find anything interesting?
Let's see. The translation of the information that we've gathered from the library has been moderately successful. I have some ideas to incorporate some of their findings into my own abilities, but
On gear. Yeah.
nothing. Not a whole lot in terms of pinpointing the hypothesized outside force for what may have brought this dungeon towards this realm and pierced it.
In fact, I think, Ajax, you could say you're fairly confident that it was not anything from that dungeon that caused this. Like, you can find no evidence of that. You could rule that out pretty clearly.
Yeah. That's why they worded it the way they did, of just like, no, there's something else that brought it in, and whether it was pierced and then the dungeon came, or the dungeon was used as the thing to pierce it, whichever happens, it wasn't from within that dungeon that moved itself.
Something
If that
powerful
makes
enough
sense.
to puncture a realm. Sounds incredible.
Yeah. The current hypothesis is that the dungeon itself was rather used as the method to make the puncture rather than the spell itself puncturing and bringing the dungeon in.
Something through a realm at another realm?
With dungeons, it is more easy to manipulate them, as not having a realm crystal allows outside influences to more easily take hold. Still a great feat, yes, but
In all my
far
travels, I have
from
never heard of such a
being
thing.
able to.
What do we
Would
believe could
Ajax
possibly do
have
it?
heard inklings of anything that could do anything similar?
I mean, I was
let's-
going to say I could do some recall lore because I'm old as
Yeah,
shit.
I think both of you could do that from two very different angles. One of like, have I heard of this in my long life? But Ajax would be more of, what in theory would do this?
Mm-hmm.
Could I use
I think it'd be
my
interesting to get the
sunborn outsider here? Because part of me being old as shit
Yeah.
is me being an elf?
Sure.
Fuck yeah.
My thought would just be either number cruncher, or actually, you know what? Number cruncher and unique neural pathways. I feel like both of those could apply, but I don't know.
You can only
If you
apply
can
one
apply two
skill,
still.
one skill
Yeah.
background benefit per check. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about that. I'll double check it, but
I'll do unique neural pathways of just like considering
Yeah.
all of the different
autism
possibilities.
powers
and stuff.
activate.
It's just, God damn it.
Hey,
Strongest of powers.
14 plus a 6 for a 20.
Hey.
That is a 14.
So yeah, Ajax, you get to, the GM gives you a truthful answer. You can propose additional detail, but you can't invalidate the GM's answer with the thing you're trying to remember, and then for Kana, the GM gives you an answer, and you can change and modify the answer as long as it remains in the spirit of the GM's original answer. And I can ask you what you think the answer is before providing theirs.
Oh shit! I get to world build.
Yep. So let's
We can start
do
with,
Ajax first.
Okay.
Just because I think that this is more interesting to have yours. You think based on like the size of this dungeon, if you were gonna do it, it would take. It would probably take like a few mages if they were like really coordinated and organized, especially with like wizardly magic, to at least move a dungeon on purpose. Like you guys push them away from realms all the time collectively. Moving it somewhere on purpose isn't that much of a powerful feat if you have the time and the prep to do it. Throwing it hard enough to pierce a realm, you think would really depend on what like the realm crystal's setup is. Like it's a unique spell in there. You'd have to look at that, but you're also pretty sure you could identify exactly how powerful someone is, or now that you think about it, like the method by which this got pierced if you investigate that.
Okay, by investigating like the spell within the world crystal, or
Yeah. If you looked at the realm crystal itself, you'd be able to identify more. Kana, having lived a long time, what do you think is the answer to something with that amount of power hucking a realm, or at least a dungeon?
I got this. I think I'm actually gonna answer this one in character. I think. No, I won't yet. 'Cause I'm gonna get some details. But I think that Kana has heard the occasional whisperings, this like cultural folklore myth, this religious awe. There's always been this recounting of tales, and there's this recurring through line through some of them of this thing. Sometimes it's a beast or a dragon or an ancient god or a thing that lives in between the realms, a thing that it lives in the darkness between aether. And while it's never given with definitive answers as to what it is or given a name, it's always spoken of as if it is this incredibly powerful, reverent thing. The idea that like even saying its name is a dangerous thing, such as its power.
Yeah. And I think in your life, you've heard people like more in a frustrated, folksy way, like blame it on this thing. Of like, oh yeah, that's why this weird magic thing happened. Usually people are just saying that because they're just like cursing it. Or cursing in its name, the same way you'd say, God damn it. But you also can think of a few instances of like, not places you've been, but that like current events in your life of a catastrophic like magical failure, or like a connection between two realms being severed by some sort of catastrophe, a moderately sized like satellite realm having to scramble everyone out of the realm as it was collapsing because of some thing that happened to a crystal. These random magical occurrences just happen, and sometimes it is without explanation. You might this time say, hey, no, don't. There's nothing that says that this actually was someone who did this. This could just be an accident, which is why this is such a like vague mission. But those things happen, and people tend to curse this being, this sort of chaos entity that goes by no name. I think it would just be like curse that thing, and it's like it's specifically vague for that reason, and they mean that shit when it's something like this. It's not a folksy joke. It's some people really believe that that's what caused it. Yeah.
And I can tweak that as long as it stays within your vision.
Yeah.
That's sort of my thought.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I fuck with that general concept. I think there is like, I think that's the general perception. I think like in the same like things says, like there are people who like generally kind of believe in this sort of thing as some consensus. I think it's, yeah, I think there, yeah, actually, I don't actually think I have to modify any of that in any serious way, but I think, yeah, in general, there's this idea of like you said, this sort of ancient dark lying in between the void that is, this sort of.
I kind of want to call it the Realm Eater.
I like that. I think it has a bunch of different sort of names that people call it. Yeah, I like that. So sorry. Yeah.
I think that's what you're thinking of there.
Yeah. Ajax, do you want to share what you're thinking, or?
Yeah, Ajax would probably say be like hypothesis,
Kind of ear twitches somewhat.
or the more information is required on the spell within the realm crystal. It is not impossible for the situation to have arose. Through currently understood means.
Fennec said the same. He believed it could possibly be an accident. And yet, I have heard tale in my travel. People mention ancient beings, a power beyond the realms, old behind time, all-consuming, hunger without name, the Star Eater, the Long Dark, the Realm Quiet. People have called it many things. Perhaps I am simply being superstitious, but could a thing like that truly exist? Power, terrifying, and lying in wait in the aether? Could that have been what caused this?
With a mouthful of food, Maeve will be like, "That is fucking terrifying. What?"
Ma'am, you must not get a lot of folklore where you're from, Abdu says as he's still cooking.
No, it's usually like more immediate problems, like trying not to go hungry or getting clean water or figuring out what their resistance is going to do next. That sort of thing. Daily survival.
Every other word out of your mouth makes me more sad. Anyways, keep cooking. I do think he'd actually offer, it's like, well, if you need to look at the realm crystal, though, I'm sure you could talk to Fennec. He'll let you look in there before the ritual tomorrow. Or when you do the ritual, you'll get to be right up and personal. It's a position of honor. You guys get to be the one touching it.
Okay. Thank you.
Friend
Is
Hayes,
it well
This food is delicious, by the way.
Kana says, takes another huge bite.
Are you
Friend
enjoying
Hayes.
this as much as I am?
Friend Hayes, you know the most of us about the Aether Sea and the ways in which souls interact with it. Do you believe there is truth to these stories?
Possibly. Many souls sing those same stories.
And why would a soul lie?
Whether it's true or not, it definitely holds significance for it to stay with souls after they pass.
And, yeah, I don't want you to roll for this, Hayes, because I think it's just something that you would know of just... There are definitely times where something much larger than a soul seems to be, like, maybe pass by in the Aether Sea. It's maybe just currents is some theories. Some people think that there are souls that are more native to the Aether Sea, or some kind of, like, magical constructs that live in it that might be living there, but it's not really very provable because it's hard to interact with anything in the Aether Sea. And these things almost always are far off. But there are definitely people who think that that is some evidence of a larger, like, thing that lives in it or is the Aether and its probably inscrutable motivations.
Okay.
But there's a variety of lore amongst people who go to the Aether in there.
Right. Yeah, I think Hayes would say, no one in my family has ever seen something like that, but there are often ripples felt within the sea. Could be caused by any number of things, but obviously the larger a ripple, one imagines the larger the rock.
Profound. I wonder, friends, are we on the verge of discovering something possible?
I don't know. Cam, have you ever fished anything that could be of that size?
Could Cam fish up the void god?
What?
I don't know.
Cam looks up from his plate of food, like fork halfway to his mouth.
That would be an incredible talent.
You know, sometimes the fishing line snaps. And you just have to hope that whatever it was that snapped the line isn't gonna come back.
I see.
Your line is made of your aether, no?
Exactly.
That is also horrifying. Our problems are simple. Immortal necromancers bent on maximizing as much profit as possible at the expense of others. As horrible as daily life is, it's very the enemy you know. This is way out of my league. Can you pass the roasted chicken?
Kana leans
Sure.
over.
Thank you.
But are we
Just
not?
like some big chicken wing in her mouth.
Obviously,
Cam's gonna
what
kinda
the fuck
nervous
is a
eating.
chicken? I'm kidding.
Cam's gonna shrug.
The equivalent
So
of
far,
chicken.
I've never met anything that snapped my line before, so here's hoping it stays that way.
Roast Archaeopteryx.
Then again, are we not to be beacons? If
Right, but that's, you know, it's not a problem that needs solving.
Then again, what if whatever could possibly lie in the dark is the answer to our realm puncture? Would it not then be a problem?
It would, yeah, then it would. But until we know that that's the problem, I'm not gonna worry about it.
I would agree.
Indeed, there are enough problems to solve. We don't need to make ones for ourselves.
That would definitely be preferable. I'm kind of just along for the ride here.
What a ride it should be. We should speak
Apparently.
with Fennec again. I believe he may have answers now. Now that we have a bit more clarity for ourselves. Perhaps he will be less dodgy.
Agreed.
I'll give you guys a little more space unless you want to end the scene out.
I think Kana spends a long moment kind of like looking at his food for a while, and like it looks to all the world like Kana Alva is actually rubbing 3 neurons together for the first time in his life. And like just like looking down for a long bit and just, if there is an ancient and hungry god in the void, I would like to see them. Fight with them.
Oh boy.
Are you sure you want to stay along for the ride, Maeve?
I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah, hopefully I'm long retired by then.
I'm still sorting out the here and now as to this probationary period that I'm on, this maybe amnesty or asylum. There's a lot going on that I still really haven't taken the time to process. I've just been sort of going along for the ride, but well, this is all rightly terrifying, and I think I just need a little time to process, like, bigger picture stuff. Food is a good start.
I think it's that note that your host says, well, not that the conversation you're having isn't maybe a little terrifying. I don't know. I tend to trust that the beacons are gonna win through. It's not like they haven't before. Y'all are gonna change the world.
I'll just lean over to Kana and be like, they're putting a lot of faith in us as beacons.
I believe that is the point.
It's a lot of pressure. I didn't think beacons were that big or important of a thing.
That must be what it means to herald the end of an age.
And well, and Abdu in particular is like,
Horrified.
what? You don't know about here? Let me tell you about some beacons. I have a good few stories about beacons. Let me tell you the legends. Kana's gonna know all of these as he kind of goes into talking about them, because Kana probably knows more of them as just like fun stories of great warriors, powerful mages, and the camera sees one. I think it's probably the one that didn't start the beacons, but is the one that everyone knows of beacons. That there was once a city of wizards and knights that became New Avalon. Back before the realm shattered, it struggled to find the balance it needed to not be overcome by the ambition and paranoia of wizards, nor the everyone has a different word for this depending on what you feel about the knights, but Abdu says the glory and perhaps overzealousness of knights, that the two were attempting to balance each other. And then, without warning, the realms collapsed. And it was a single wizard and a single knight who rallied and fought and saved New Avalon, making the first realm in its history. Each realm has a story like this, of some mage holding the realm together long enough for some other warrior to find a crystal in the Aetherwild and hold the spell. And this is the reality of surviving in a world run by magical chaos. And I think that's a good place for us to end today. Thank you, Twitch, for being here. Thank you to all of our watchers for having a good time with us. I am Tate Washburn. I will always be Tate Washburn. You can find me at Tate the Terrific on Blue Sky and any place I care to be found. If you find me somewhere else, no, you didn't. What you should really do is follow this channel's Blue Sky account at Neon Lights Roleplay, because several people run it who are all funnier than me, and it's also where we announce all the cool stuff we're going to do. Or you can join us on our Discord, where we meme and we stream and we watch, and we also recruit people for various games and stuff. It's great. But that's about all I have, and I would love my players, let's say in the reverse order, so starting with Essie, do your outros, tell everybody who you are, who you played, and if you have anything to shout out, let's do it now.
Hey everybody, I'm Essie or Aaron Spencer, and I played Maeve, the Equinox today. The sort of edgy character trope inspired by the AU adult Jinx art that I've been seeing, and also Kylos from Apex Legends. And beyond being here with all of these amazing people on Neon Lights Roleplay, I also run the ESP Enchanting Sorcery Productions channel, along with my 4 incredible co-admins at Baba Yaga, Adelaide, Val at Blade White Falcon, and of course Ashton, Brienne, and Garnet, Garnet Rose. And yeah, we're queer, we're witchy, and we do a lot of actual plays. Our current streams are Call of Cthulhu, Tragedies of Aldrin Hall, which is Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and a little D&D, 2 anti-fascist campaigns, the Stormwatch and Phandelver Below, which we tied into Ars Antarum AU, which is all about bashing the fash. It's a lot of catharsis, it's a lot of fun, and of course, we're wrapping up our Into the Old Margrave Kobold Pressmas adventure over the next 2 weeks as well. So yeah, check us out. It's queer, it's witchy, and all the above.
We love queer witchy stuff here.
That's me next, yeah?
Yep.
Hey folks, I'm Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as your favorite Fox Philly's finest. I can be found all over the internet at Young Foxy. It's YUNGFOXXII, sometimes with an underscore in the middle. I am creative director here at Neon Lights Roleplay, so you'll usually see my face hanging somewhere around here because I love being in everything, because I am an attention whore. But if you're looking to see more of me for some reason, the next place you're going to catch me on your screens is this upcoming Tuesday, back for another episode of Tears of Divinity Fading Chronicle, our incredibly galaxy-spanning Lancer campaign where the goddess Yenneval is wrought about the galaxies, sent to bring the end of humanity, and our little Lancer squad is the only thing between all of humanity and being taken over by weird, funky math rock gods. Outside of that, I do all kinds of other cool things here, so you'll see me here for a couple other wonderful campaigns, some announced, some running, and some yet to come. Other than that, please support the people you see on your screens because they're incredible and wonderful. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll pass it over to Lucian to keep the outros going.
Oh god, it's me next. Hey, I'm Lucian.
Yeah.
No, I played Camp, the Solitary Angler, or Dwarf Life Weaver. It's been fun just hanging out. Yeah, you'll see me next time on this show in 2 weeks, because I'm not in anything else right now. More to come later, maybe.
Yet.
We get to keep you to ourselves for now.
Exactly. And on that note, I'll pass along the chows.
Alrighty. I am Chouse. I've played Ajax, our Machina Gunslinger, aka Autism Incarnate. But, you know, and not a frog. I want to clarify that a little bit.
No permits here.
Ajax the Gunslinger here.
It's gonna be a bit forever now.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
no.
gonna be the back of everyone's mind. You can find me largely here. I'm now no longer working 2 jobs, so I'll probably be streaming on my own Twitch at It's Chouse, because I thought I was original enough to just have Chouse as my username. I was wrong. And I think that's largely it. We got a Discord.
Our last player, unless someone remembers all of Egg's socials, is
I got this. It's no
not available
problem.
at the moment. Yeah.
Young Foxy stepping in for Egg Chan, the most expensive egg on your grocery shelf, because I remembered that bit from last time. If you're looking for them, which you should because they're incredible, you're going to find them on our socials at Egg Chan. It's EGGCHAN on Twitch, Blue Sky, and other appropriate socials. They stream occasionally, showing off some art they're working on and other cool things, and are also an awesome person hanging out in here. You can catch them on this screen in this campaign, Knights of New Avalon, and also in our mass campaign, Jump City Sirens, where they show up there. So please come and hang out with them and see all the cool things that they do because they're great, and also my girlfriend and I love them a whole lot. Bye. Mwah.
Perfect. Covering for our brave soldier in the Tummy Hurdy Wars. Anyways, it's been wonderful having you all, and we will see you next time in Knights of New Avalon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.